Hi everybody, it's Lydia here. Today's Top 5 Wednesday is Top 5 Terrible Book Covers. This is going to be really controversial. I apologise in advance. So there's not much to explain about this Top 5 Wednesday. It's literally, I went through my bookshelf, found 5 covers that I hate, and that's it. Let's start with number 5. So my number 5 is pretty simple. I just picked a random Penguin Books Classics cover. I hate these covers. They're so boring and unoriginal, and what were they thinking? I mean, I get that they stand out on the bookshelf, but they're so boring and they all look the same, and isn't half of what makes books great the fact that they're all completely different and random, and shouldn't the cover reflect that? And blah. My number 4 is a relatively new book that I haven't actually read yet, but it is The Big Wide Calm by Rich Marcello. I mentioned this in my book haul on Monday. I don't hate this cover, but I don't particularly like it either, and I just don't look at it and think, oh yes, I really want to read that. I'm not sure what it is. I think maybe it's the colour scheme, just that blue is a bit dull and weird, and I don't know, it just doesn't grab my attention. My number 3 is going to be controversial because everyone always raves about these book covers, and that is the Throne of Glass series. Now, I don't have the other books in the series, but I've seen them and I dislike them just as much as I dislike this one. The reason I dislike them is it just doesn't look like a book cover. It looks like a game, like an image from like a PC game or video game. I don't know, I just think it looks really cliche and naff, and I don't know, I just don't like it. My number 2 is actually a book that has a million different covers because it's quite old, and that is Les Mis by Victor Hugo, but I don't like this cover, and I'll tell you why. When I bought this book, I was looking for a really interesting cover because I wanted to read this book so much, and I wanted to find a cover that was beautiful and that represented the awesome that this book is. But this was the most interesting book cover I could find, and it is really boring. And I get that the image of Cosette when she is young is an iconic image in terms of Les Miserables, but it's just a really boring cover, and who thought the green worked with the picture, and you could have done so much more interesting stuff, and it's like, oh. My number 1 is again another book that has been out for centuries and therefore has millions of different covers, but I don't like this version, and that is my version of Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. The reason I don't like this version is because they've clearly designed this, it's all pink and flowery and lovely, they've clearly designed it to make it look like modern day chick lit tends to look like, and I have nothing against chick lit. If you want to read that, that's great, but they would never do this to a classic for a man's book. They would never do it. If you had a Dickens, they would never do this. I mean, and it really annoyed me, and I hate it, but it was the only copy I could find and I wanted a copy of it, and I just, it's the principle of the thing. Why did they have to do that to this book? So that's my top 5 terrible book covers. I actually was quite surprised that I didn't have any worse ones. I don't like these covers at all, but I really did feel like there would be a lot worse covers and just couldn't really find any, so maybe I just always go for the books with the beautiful covers. That probably says something about me, but there we go. What can you do? That's it for me today. I will see you again next week for another Top 5 Wednesday, and I will see you again tomorrow for another video about something I'm not quite sure yet. But until then, bye!